Mr. Chair, the position of undersecretary and assistant secretaries and other appointed positions are positions of trust and confidence by the appointing authority. The resignation letters of the USEX and the ASEX of DepEd were accepted by the appointing authority. And who is that? Mr. Chair? The President of the Republic of the Philippines.
Yes.
It is not the Secretary of the Department of Education. So you ask the President of the Republic of the Philippines why he accepted the resignation of the USEX and the ASEX.
What is the point, Honorable Vice President?
Ang sinasabi ko sa inyo, bakit nyo kine-question ang due process? Tanungin nyo ang appointing authority, bakit niya tinanggap ang resignation letter?
Madam Vice President,
Yes, sir.
we will, wala pa po tayo dun sa usapin na yun.
Sa anong usapin,
Later
sir?
later po sa binabanggit po ninyo.
Sa anong
Wala pa po tayo sa period of interpellation. Bubuksan ko pa lamang po ang period of interpellation.
Yes, sir. Nandun na kayo sa topic. Hindi po tayo nag-i-interpellation
Madam
ngayon.
Vice President, nag-uusap po muna ang mga miyembro.
Yes,
so,
sir.
please do respect. Yung
Yes,
mga,
I am very respectful. I am dovetailing from Congressman Marcoleta. The appointing authority is the President of the Republic of the Philippines. Why are you questioning due process in a discussion of resignation of USEX and ASEX?
Wala pa pong nagtatanong about that, Madam Vice President.
Sir, kinontempt nyo
Madam-
na, sir, dinetain nyo na yung tao for due process.
Madam Vice President,
Sir, nasa loob ng detention ang tao because you questioned due process. Asaan ang explanation ng due process ninyo doon? Nasaan?
Madam Vice
Tinanong
President,
kita kanina. I'm sorry, sir. Tinanong kita kanina, sino ang appointing authority? USEC ng ASEC. Anong sagot mo? Secretary. Hindi mo
pa po-
alam.
Hindi pa po ako nagsumasagot.
Hindi mo. Nakita kita, sumagot. Camera. Kita kita sumagot. Sinabi mo, Secretary.
Motion to
Hindi
suspend
ninyo alam
for 5
lahat.
minutes.
1
Na
minute,
ang nag-a-appoint
one
ay
minute
President.
suspension is declared by the Chair.
Can we observe proper decorum, Mr. Chairman?
Another minute suspension there called by Congressman Joel Chua. Finally, Vice President Sara Duterte took her oath after she was refused to be recognized by the chairman of the committee, saying that he will only allow her to speak if she takes her oath. And with that, the Vice President stood and took her oath, and she was able to freely speak. But here's where we're at this point. The Vice President, in her words, says that she's dovetailing from the statements of Congressman Marcoleta about due process, but they're not there yet. The members of the committee were still trying to thresh out certain issues before the period of interpellation could actually begin. But the Vice President was insisting about due process, and then the temperature once again rose, and that's why the chairman of the committee, Congressman Joel Chua, called for a minute suspension. The Vice President is speaking. Let's go back to the House of Representatives. All right, we're still in the middle of that 1 minute suspension called by Congressman Joel Chua. The Vice President spoke very briefly. I do apologize for that. We weren't able to bring you the audio. Still do not know what the Vice President said in that brief moment, but we're in the middle of this 1 minute suspension after the Vice President insisted on tackling the very topic of due process, to which Congressman Joel Chua said they're not there yet. They haven't even begun the period of interpellation. The Vice President once again saying that she was just dovetailing from the statements of Congressman Rodante Marcoleta. You just see the members of the committee here just really trying to put some order into the inquiry. They were well on their way until the Vice President rose her hand and asked that she be recognized. Again, if you've just tuned in, the Vice President has finally taken her oath. She's now there seated. She is going to, I guess, present her statements. Members of the committee will now be free to ask her, and she's now going to be free to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, as she said in her, as she took her oath. Again, I think we hear the Vice President speaking. Control, can you give me some guidance here?
Mr.
Go
Chair.
ahead.
Maybe
Yes, Madam Vice
Yes.
President.
You need to reconsider that extension of your detention. It was illegal in the first place. You asked the President why he accepted the resignation. Do not ask due process.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair. Yes, Congressman Paduano. Congressman Akop.
Mr. Chair, Madam Vice President, if you have any question insofar as the actions of this committee are concerned, I think the proper remedy is for you to go to the court.
Sir, I will go to court.
Opo, pero
Oo,
that is
pero
where-
araw-araw, you are depriving a person of her liberty while I await
that is precisely the point, ma'am.
the...
If our action of detaining your chief of staff is against the law, I think the proper remedy, and I think you're a lawyer,
Yes, sir.
the proper remedy is to go to the court.
Sir, do you really want to show the Filipino people kung anong kaalaman ninyo sa batas?
Ang sinasabi ko lang po ay sundin
Oo.
po natin yung batas
Kaya
dito
nga,
sa
sir,
House.
sundin natin yung
Kasi
batas.
nandito po kayo dito sa bahay ng Kongreso.
Yes, sir. Sundin natin yung batas. Why will you penalize, punish Yusek Lopez for an act of the President?
Madam Vice President, that is the decision of the committee as a whole. Sana po respetuhin po ninyo.
Yes, sir.
Kung meron pong
Okay.
remedy, alam naman po ninyo bilang abogado na tama po yung sinasabi ni Congressman Akop, pwede po tayong mag-file ng relief sa court.
Okay, sige, sir. Tinutulungan ko lang kayo, sir, kasi napapahiya ang Pilipinas. Ganito ba ang House of Representatives? Tinutulungan ko lang kayo.
Maraming salamat po, Madam Vice President.
With all due respect,
Yes,
Mr. Chair,
Congressman
I move that we
Deputy
strike
Speaker
out. Yeah, I move that we
Suarez.
strike out that last comment said about the House of Representatives. I don't think that is warranted. Neither is it fair to make statements such as that. So move, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Is there any objection? Hearing none, the motion is carried.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Congressman Dan
may we remind all the
Fernandez.
resource persons to address the chairman kasi nakakawala po ng respeto sa committee na to kung hindi po natin i-address ang chairman. Maraming salamat po, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We will now continue to the next item in our agenda. We will now proceed to the interpellation proper. The first to interpolate is the Honorable Congressman Akop.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask Mr. Edward Farda? Mr. Farda, you were the special disbursing officer during the period when Vice President Sara Duterte was the Secretary of DepEd.
Your Honor, Mr.
Edward Farda, you're recognized.
Your Honor, Mr. Chair, I confirm.
Thank you. Would you also confirm the 3 land bank checks, each amounting to 37.5 million, were issued to you as payee and were encashed by you? Would you confirm that?
Mr. Farda, you are recognized.
Your Honor, I confirm.
Thank you. And would you also confirm that you certified the correctness of the liquidation reports on the use of the DepEd confidential funds and in fact issued the corresponding certification? Would you confirm that?
Mr. Chair, pwede pong paulit lang po nung question regarding dun sa issue ng certification.
Congressman Akop, please continue. Please repeat.
Yes, Mr. Chair. Mr. Farda, can you, did you certify to the correctness of the liquidation reports on the use of the DepEd confidential funds and in fact issued the corresponding certification?
Mr. Chair, wala kaming kakampi dito, walang maka-point of order para sa amin. How can you ask a resource person without
Madam
giving him
Vice-
copies? Without giving him
Mr.
copies?
Chair, point of
Madam
order,
Vice
Mr. Chair.
President, please wait to be recognized.
Give him copies.
Point of order. What's the point of order of the Honorable
Yes,
Astro?
Mr. Chair, Representative Acop is asking our resource person, why is it that the Vice President is batting?
Yes,
Yes, the
ma'am.
point of
No,
order
hindi
Kasi
is
po
wala
dapat
kaming
ganon.
kakampi
Proper.
dito, ma'am.
Pero dapat
Walang
pakinggan
maka-
1
muna
minute
natin.
recess declared by the chair.
Well, point of order.
All right, another suspension there called by the chairman of the committee, Congressman Joe Chua, after the vice president interjected without being recognized. The disbursement officer finally there, and he was being asked about the how he was able to authenticate and verify these documents. You see Vice President there walking over to the committee, talking now to Congressman Joel Chua. She has been insistent on being recognized, even with, on speaking, I should say, even before being recognized by the chairman of the committee. A while ago, the vice president was talking about the due process and to ask the president, who was the appointing power, as to why he accepted the resignations of the ASECs and the USECs. This sort of stumped the members of the committee because they weren't there yet. They were talking about the chief of staff of the vice president, and the continued detention and the extension of the contempt of the chief of staff of the vice president. But the vice president insisted on due process and saying that there was no due process followed. So from there, the committee tried its best to continue on with the interpellation. First up was Congressman Acop, and he was interpellating the disbursement officer of the office of the vice president when the vice president raised her concerns without being recognized by the chairman of the committee. There was one point when the vice president said that she was only merely trying to help the committee, even chiding the committee, saying that is this how they want it to be, in so many words, is this what they want to show the Filipino public, their knowledge of the law. Of course, that was sarcastic coming from the vice president. She clearly wanted to say in her statements that she does not believe that the committee has any knowledge about the law.